Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's your boy Hupsaiya here to update you on the new balance proposal by our Lord and Savior, the Zerg Cabal. Let's check it out. This just came out today. Having a look-see. Looks like we've got big changes for every single race, so I'm going to speed run through it real quick. I'm not going to go too in-depth. This is just me going over it. I don't have a huge knowledge of Zerg and Terran that's like very in-depth, so it's hard for me to tell about a gigantic change to a unit like the Cyclone like this. This is a complete redesign of the unit. They're saying it's a redesign of the Cyclone to make it a more all-around unit in all matchups. Aims to increase the viability of mech-based gameplay against Protoss while promoting more active engagements with mech-based armies. So big cost reduction. They can make it out of a reactor now. Health reduction. Armor reduction. Supply reduction. Auto attack range increased. So now the lock-on uses the Cyclone's auto attack damage and no longer ignores armor. Okay, so this is nice. They're removing the massive damage that the Cyclone used to do with its lock-on ability, and they're just making the lock-on ability its auto attack. So the lock-on's range will be 9 instead of 15. Okay, cool. The auto attack damage and the speed have been changed. I think this increases the damage. I'm pretty sure this increases the damage pretty drastically on its auto attack. So it's going to be very different. Cooldown on lock-on has been reduced. No longer has a delay before the first shot and maintains weapon cooldown between lock-ons. The cast range has been reduced, so you can't cast the lock-on from further away than the attack range of the Cyclone, which is pretty nice. They're going to have to actually come in and be threatened when they lock onto your units. The max range being reduced. This is going to be very nice for things like Oracles, Banshees, and I'm struggling to think of, like, maybe Mutas. I don't think that you make Cyclones versus Mutas, but Oracles, Banshees, slower moving flying units, and faster moving flying units, just fragile units in general, are going to be able to get away from the Cyclone instead of a lock-on, meaning instant death. Multiple stock Cyclones will now auto-cast lock-on onto the same target. Okay, very nice, very nice. Backfield Accelerator upgrade removed. Movement speed reduced from 473 to 36. Ooh, that's a massive movement speed reduction. But they're adding a movement speed upgrade, which is pretty cheap, and it's researched at the Tech Lab. Overall, I think you know, this is nice. I thought the Cyclone was always a pretty bad unit in its current iteration. This is moving it in a completely different direction. Hopefully it fits the theme of what they're trying to shoot for, which is an all-rounder unit. It will definitely be a much more all-round unit. It will be able to fight against everything in the game in a very, like, base way. Hopefully not too strong. They're going to have to keep an eye on this one because it's very good. It will not auto-cast lock-on buildings using its basic attack if no other enemies are nearby. Okay, very nice, very nice. So, overall, thumbs up on that. The Cyclone was kind of a bad unit. It's nice that they're trying to give a really bad unit, like, a better position in the game. I don't think trying to move the game towards mech is a great idea because, generally speaking, mech is pretty lame, and I don't think anyone really likes watching 30-minute long mech games from Terran. Ghost. Snipe damage reduced from 170 to 130 and plus 40 versus psionics. So there's a nerf to snipe against everything except spellcasters. And the Zealot, I guess. Because the Zealot is a psionic unit, but it's the only unit that snipe can get casted on. The Zealot and the Dark Templar. So very, very nice. You know, like the Ultralisk and lots of units got one shot by snipe, and now they're not going to get one shot. EMP radius reduced from 1.75 to 1.5. This should have just never happened in the first place. So I'm glad that they're taking the power of the Ghost down a step. It has always just been the strongest unit in the game since, like, the Legacy of the Void gave them their massive movement speed buff. Reducing the radius of EMP will encourage Protoss to use Psy Storm and fat chance, dude. I mean, we're seeing Psy Storm get used against Terran players who do 2 base pushes really predictably. Psy Storm can work in those kind of situations pretty well, but I don't think we'll be seeing too much Psy Storm in the late game still. and help Protoss in straight-up engagements versus Terran armies. Snipe will no longer one-shot units such as the Zealot and the Roach, as well as requiring an extra shot to kill Ultralisks in the late game versus Zerg, generally reducing their cost efficiency over time. So, overall, very positive change to the Ghost, reducing the power of the most powerful spellcaster in the game. The reign of terror of the Ghost has been long and without compromise, so it's nice to see them try to do something drastic to that unit. The Widow Mine. Drilling Claws now also makes the Widow Mine unburrow twice as fast. That's a pretty huge buff to a unit that I think is pretty much universally hated by everyone. Targeting line is now more visible. Okay, you can see the targeting line better. It was pretty difficult to see exactly what unit is being targeted by the Widow Mine. Returns some of the strength to active Widow Mine micro in the mid-game versus Zerg that has lost after the Drilling Claw's burrow speed nerf, while not significantly increasing the power of Widow Mine drops. I don't know about this not increasing the power of Widow Mine drops. Widow Mines being able to unburrow and then reburrow to, like, buy extra time is going to be very obnoxious. I don't agree with them buffing a unit that basically everyone hates. This is a unit that everyone universally just absolutely hates, and I don't think that they should have... I think they should have just, like, nerfed this unit, to be perfectly honest. But whatever, we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll do what they say and encourage Widow Mine micro in the mid-game versus Zerg. I don't see that being a big thing, unfortunately. This one's a stinker. The Widow Mine change is a stinker. Medevac change. Speed upgrade replaced by Caduceus Reactor. Increases Medevac's energy regeneration rate by 100%. Okay, that is a major buff to the Medevac. Comes from the Fusion Core, so it won't be until very late in the game. And then they've increased the size of the Medevac on the minimap. Okay, this is a change. This is a lateral change, right? A lot of the times they'll only make changes directly to the strength of a unit. Like the Ghost change here is a direct change to the strength of the unit, which is very linear. This is a linear change that just directly influences how good the unit is and its interactions with things. And this minimap radius increase is a lateral change, which much more affects something that isn't directly tied to the strength of the unit. Making it more visible on the minimap is something that will promote high-level players. High-level players have very much so better minimap awareness than low-level players, so this will help them. But low-level players are not going to notice this at all, and I think that that's kind of the idea here, is that this will benefit high-level players, but lower-level players, they're not going to notice this change too much, which is really nice. Standardizes the size of the Warp Prism, Medevac, and Overlord. Okay, so they're doing this to the Warp Prism as well. I think the Overlord was already at this size. Very cool, very cool. Replaces the current unused Medevac upgrade with an upgrade which could be used in active games with a large Medevac count that run out of energy. This is a really big buff to the Medevac, but they're really hurting the Ghost super bad, so I guess they need to spread some love to some other units for Terran. The Raven. Interference Matrix now requires a research, which costs 50 minerals, 50 gas, and takes 57 seconds to research. It's researched at the tech lab. Okay, so this is going to force Terran players to leave their tech lab on their starport for about 20 more seconds. I believe a Raven is like 30 to 35 seconds on the build time. So if Terran players want to do a Raven Interference Matrix type 2-base push on Protoss players, they're going to have to wait 20 extra seconds before they can start making medevacs, switching their starport to a reactor and making medevacs. Single opening, Raven opening can currently disable multiple key defensive units in early game pushes against Protoss. The cheap cost of the upgrade still allows for multiple Raven play in TVT and specialized builds in TVP. Yeah, so it'll make scouting Terran more reliable. You'll scout the starport, you'll see the tech lab, you'll see an upgrade, and if you see a Raven, you know it's going to be an interference matrix, right? And if you don't see a Raven, you know it's going to be Banshees. So I like this change. This is pretty nice. It doesn't directly remove the strength of interference matrix. Like I said, this is another like lateral type of change where they're slowing the peak strength point of the Raven down a little bit, so it's not so strong in those mid-game pushes, which is really, realistically, where Protoss struggles the most. It's just between 5 and 8 minutes, all the, like, various, like, 1-1-1 and 2-1-1 and 3-1-1 timing attack pushes. Protoss just absolutely struggles super hard versus those things, and the margin for error is very low. If you take any kind of economic damage from, say, a Widowmine drop, or a Hellion run by, or Reaper shenanigans, if you take any damage from this kind of stuff, these Raven pushes just outright kill you most of the time, and this is giving you a small breathing room window to try and maybe catch up. So overall, the Terran change is very cool. This is changing the Cyclone into a complete new unit, so I don't know where this is going to go. I'll have to play a couple games on the balanced test mod and see how I feel about this, but it does look cool. I like the idea of a more all-rounder unit for Cyclone. I think that maybe they should have done something like this for Protoss, because I think Protoss is the race that currently lacks a proper all-rounder unit. I think that the Stalker fits into the all-rounder unit pretty well, but it also is just exceptionally difficult to micro, where this unit, this is going to be a unit that's very easy to micro, right? You're going to just move and shoot, or you're going to lock on and you're going to run away and move back and forth. It's not... This is a unit that will have a very low skill ceiling on micro, and the Stalker is a very high skill ceiling micro unit. So even though it fits the all-rounder purpose, this is going to be an all-rounder unit that doesn't demand a really high level of skill from the player. But I like it anyways. It looks good. Everything together, I think this is actually a pretty solid, like, change list for Terran, because they were very much so outperforming Protoss at most stages of the game, except ultra late when Protoss could get, like, 8 or 9 disruptors out. And this is nice, because the EMP nerf and the snipe nerf will make quite a bit of a difference. And the Raven nerf, this is sort of a nerf. The Raven change, I'm going to say, will make it so that Protoss doesn't just die to all these 2-base pushes that take place in between 5 and 8 minutes. So, thumbs up. I like it. Onwards and upwards to the Zerg changes. Number 1 on the list is the Lurker. They're removing the speed bonus from Adaptive Talons, which means that it'll keep the speed burrow, the burrow speed increase. I guess it's a reduction. You get Adaptive Talons, and then the Lurker will burrow significantly faster. But they're not going to be literal spaceship speed anymore, which is nice. I like this a lot. The Lurker is not an overly problematic unit, but it is kind of ridiculous that a super long-range siege unit doesn't suffer from the mobility problems that other long-range siege units have. Think the siege tank, right, and the Broodlord, slow units that are siege units that struggle with mobility. The Lurker kind of has the best of both worlds, where it's a long-range siege unit, but it also is very mobile once it gets this upgrade, so now it's not going to be so ridiculous. I like this, because it doesn't reduce the active power of the Lurker, but it does make it less punishing to people who are maybe out of position or can't move their army as quickly. The Infestor. Pathogen Glands upgrade has been removed. Okay. Infestors start with 75 energy now, so they come right out of the egg with a fungal growth. Fungal growth cast range has been reduced. Fungal growth damage has been reduced. Okay. I like this. The Infestor is probably one of the most underutilized Zerg units, and this will incentivize people to use the unit because they don't have to remember an upgrade for it anymore. It will be significantly weaker, but I think the radius of fungal growth is insane. The combination of Infestors and any other spellcaster, so the Infestor plus the Ravager, or the Infestor plus the Viper, the combination of these two things against other units is incredible, right? Because if you fungal growth a large group of units and then Ravager Bile, the fungal growth lasts long enough that, like, your opponent cannot micro out of the Ravager Biles properly. And likewise, if you combo the, what's it called? The Viper's AoE spell with fungal growth, it just absolutely obliterates air units so fast. It feels terrible, but this is nice, right? It'll bring an underutilized unit back into the spotlight, maybe. Prevent infestors from killing Marines with 2 consecutive fungals. Ah, okay. So they reduce the damage so that it's less punishing to Marines. But I think, like, if you have, like, a large group of Marines and it gets fungal growth, they're pretty dead for reasons that aren't associated with a second fungal growth. So this is kind of... I'm not sure, like... And as a trade-off to the EMP radius nerf in TV's the late game. Oh, so they're worried that fungal growth will be too strong versus Terran because of the EMP nerf. That makes sense. That makes sense. The Spire air armor upgrade costs have been reduced. So you'll be saving 50... 100 minerals, or 50 minerals and 50 gas, and then 75 minerals and 75 gas, right? Or no, 50 minerals and 50 gas on every version. So 150 minerals and 150 gas saved over the course of your air armor upgrades. I don't know how I feel about changes like this. They're kind of nothing. If you think about the context of a very long game where you get to +3 armor, if you've got the money to spend on +3 armor, you've got 150 extra minerals and 150 extra gas to spend on that, and reducing that, like, cost is not huge. You think about the time 15, 20, 30 minutes into a game, you've got 40,000 resources mined, and if you couldn't figure out a way to fit in your upgrade costs, you know, like, 150 isn't going to make that much of a difference. So this is like a nice quality of life change, but I don't think it makes any kind of impact on an actual game. Vipers, consume damage reduced from 200 to 150. All right, so the Zerg Cabal strikes again. They said, man, you know, I'm bad at the game, and I accidentally kill my own buildings with Vipers because I don't have enough attention to give to them. You know what would be great is if I just didn't kill my own buildings with my Vipers with 0 required effort put in by me. So, you know what? Whatever. I guess let's make Zerg even easier. Sick. Okay. I mean, whatever. It's a buff, right? It's a buff to, like, what is probably like the first. I think that if the changes to the Ghost go through, the Viper is definitely the #1 spellcaster in the game. But I think in the current space of the game, the Ghost is #1 and the Viper is #2. So buffing the #2 spellcaster in the game, even if it's like a side grade type of buff, it's kind of like, what are you guys thinking, you know? Like, kind of proving the old memes about the Zerg Cabal correct when you make changes like this, right? Like, what the heck, man? Whatever, we'll move on from that. That's totally fine. I think it's okay if they do something like that. Broodlord movement speed increased further. Ooh, dude, why are they doing this? Why are they coming back? So in the last balance change, they increased the movement speed of the Broodlord slightly. They reduced the lifespan of the Broodlings. And now they're taking it even further. The Broodlord moves faster, the Broodling moves slower, and its health has been reduced from 30 to 20, and its attack speed has been reduced. So they're really nerfing the Broodling. They want the Broodlord to be a more mobile siege unit. Continuing in the direction of the last balance patch, further increasing Broodlord mobility while further reducing the strength of Broodlings to compensate should allow for more active play in the late game. Alright. Cool. I mean, that's fine. I'm not sure about this. Regardless of how fast the Broodling is or how low its HP is, if you have like 8 or more Broodlords, man, they are spewing out so many Broodlings that I don't think it matters how much they nerf them. They're going to still just be really strong. So this is like a change I think that the Balance Council should be very, very attentive to. Especially with the change to the Infestor bringing attention back to this unit. Currently, Zerg players favor the Viper in the late game, and they ignore the Infestor entirely. But when players can combo both of these spellcasters at the same time, it feels unbeatable. It feels absolutely unbeatable when Zerg players are able to control both of their spellcasters at the same time. It's a very difficult task, but I see people do it, and it looks insane. And with a stronger, faster Broodlord, I would be very careful with a change like this. I hope that over the next month or two, while they're monitoring these changes, that they really pay special attention to the Broodlord and the medevac, because these are like very, very big changes. Overlord, deceleration speed increased, so they will slow down and stop faster, and the generate creep delay reduced from 1.43 to 0.6. So they're going to slow down faster, which means they're going to be able to drop units faster, right? Because they have to stop to drop units, I think, right? Reduce the amount of time it takes for overlords to stop and begin dropping creep. Oh, it's about dropping creep, and to allow for more active usage of queen drops. You know, I just don't think queen drops should be a thing. The queen should be purely a defensive unit. I don't know what they're thinking making a change like this. This is I can smell cats. I can smell cats on this change from a mile away. Cats was in the Balance Discord, and he was like, "Hey guys, my creative strategies, they're not working so well anymore. Can we please give the Overlord a slight change so I can bring the queen drops back into play so we can make some more YouTube videos?" I don't know about this one, man. This one's got Zerg Cabal written all over it. I don't know about this one. The transport upgrade. The move speed has been increased. Yeah. Move speed with pneumatized carapace increase. Yeah. This has got Zerg Cope Cabal written all over it. I don't know if they Zerg need any buffs. I don't think Zerg needs any buffs right now, okay? Rainer 1 Gamers 8. The last IEM, the last Intel Extreme Masters Major was won by a Zerg player. I don't think Zerg needs any buffs, but you know what? I guess, okay, fine, okay, whatever. Allows for more active drop usage in combination with the Bane. Oh, they're spoilering us. Baneling nerf incoming. All right. Should not increase the overall strength of Baneling harassed against Protoss. Ultralisk cost reduced by 25 minerals. Burrow and unburrow time reduced. Okay. I think Ultralisks are the coolest late game Zerg unit. So, this unit coming back into play, heck with it. I think it's a cool unit. I hope that they make it more valuable. Without making it, like, more overtly strong. This is a nice push in the right direction. Lurkers and Broodlords are generally favored over the Ultralisk in the late game, as the Ultralisks have poor cost efficiency over time. Should make them more used throughout long games while not greatly reducing the initial investment. Okay. Alright, I like it. Ooh, we've been here before. This has happened before. They have combined these two upgrades in the past, and it was not a good thing. This was really not a good thing in the past when they changed this, because it just Hydralisk all-ins versus Protoss every single game. I remember playing during the time period when this was a thing, and it was just miserable. Increases the speed at which Hydras come online in the mid-game for more quickly responding to enemy air switches, such as... You know, they said the exact same thing when they originally made this change years ago. This is... I don't like this one. Why does Zerg need buffs right now? This isn't a redesign. This isn't a lateral change. This is just a buff. This is just a heavy-handed buff to the Hydralisk. I don't like it. I don't like this at all. This has got to go. This is ridiculous. This has got Zerg Cope Cabal written all over it, right? Like, we got a pretty mid... This is like a pretty neutral change to the Infestor. Buff, 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 and then 1 nerf, right, to the Baneling here. What is this? Damage upgrade per upgrade reduced. Oh, they're removing the plus damage versus light units. So the Baneling will no longer one-shot probes or drones. And the centrifugal hook upgrade has been reduced in cost. The research time has been reduced. And the health bonus has been removed. Alright. Alright, you know... Maybe I have to, like, give up some things so that we can have nerfed Banelings. Alright. Alright. I guess for nerfed Banelings, we have to give up some things. So Zerg gets 6 buffs and 1 nerf. If Protoss's changes aren't extremely positive, I'm going to be very upset. Okay? I'm just going to preface this next part. Protoss's changes are not very positive. I will be very upset. Oh, no. Not this. Why do they think this matters? Why do they think this matters? 50 mineral... 50 resources saved on +2 shields and 100 resources. So 150 resources saved on your shield upgrades. Why do they think this matters? They're less useful than attack and armor upgrades for both air and ground units in different scenarios. Current change helps increase in cost efficiency ratio for the shield upgrade. Why do they think this matters? This is like the most useless buff that I can think of. Is reducing the cost of like your attack and armor upgrades. Look at, they're doing it to the air armor as well. This is nothing. This is a stalker. You're gonna be able to afford 1 extra stalker per match because of this shield upgrade change. This is so useless. I can't stand that they're doing this kind of thing. Same thing here. Same thing here. 100 resources saved on the first level, 100 resources saved on the second level, and 100 so 300 resources saved on your air armor upgrades. So we're looking at 2.5 stalkers. You're gonna save 3 stalkers, 3.5 stalkers total on your forge, your shield, and your air armor upgrades over the course of a 30-minute game. This is so useless. Man. There better be some good shit in here for Protoss, because this ain't it. This ain't it, kids. I'm telling you right now. Alright, so the nerf to the Warp Prism minimap radius. If they're gonna do it to the Medevac and the Overlord, they better do it to the Warp Prism. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think this is a good change all around. I think they could probably stand to do this minimap radius increase to quite a few units, and it would be a good thing. Disruptor. Oh my gosh, dude. They are coming for our balls, dude. Protoss is not allowed to have balls. Model scale reduced by 9%. So they're reducing the size of the model by 9%, right? Model scale reduced. So they're making it smaller, and they're increasing the radius. So it will make it so that they can't get as close to each other. Nor will other things. So your disruptors will be slightly less clumped up. It's currently hard to tell which disruptors have purification nova available when multiple are clumped together as the models intersect with each other. Okay, so they won't intersect with each other so poorly. The goal of supply cost increase is to reduce the potential of mass disruptor armies while still allowing Protoss players to use disruptors as a strong mid-game and late-game tool. I hate this balance team. This Zerg Cabal balance team is so stupidly biased, it causes me pain. I'm gonna just move on from this because, you know what? I don't like the Disruptor, but there is no compensation. They're not compensating the removal of the Disruptor's strength. Prismatic alignment move speed with flux veins has been increased from 2.6 to 3.4. Okay, so there was a bug previously where when prismatic alignment was activated, the Void Ray would move slower than intended. And it looks like they're supposed to... It looks like they're buffing the movement speed of the Void Ray while prismatic alignment is active. I mean, the Void Ray is a very bad unit, and you don't really see any armies in late game that involve large amount of Void Rays, because splash damage mechanics are so punishing versus them. So I don't see this making any kind of big waves or impact. This is pretty useless. They could have just, like, never touched this ever again. This has been like this since Wings of Liberty. I'm reasonably certain that this bug has been like this since Wings of Liberty, when prismatic alignment was originally around. So this is pretty nothing. This is not a buff. This is a useless change. I can't imagine this having any effect whatsoever at any point in time. So we've got a heavy nerf and 3 buffs that save us collectively 3 stalkers over the course of a 30-minute long game, and a Void Ray buff that will have absolutely no effect, because who the heck makes Void Rays and who the heck makes prismatic alignment except, like, low ELO team game players? I don't see this. What is this, right? Tempest, acceleration and deceleration increased. Ooh, okay. Okay. Model and radius scale reduced. Okay. This is good. This will make Tempests able to shoot and then move much more smoothly. I like it. This is a solid change to the Tempest. It is a buff. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. One thing out of all these changes that feels pretty good, right? The Tempest, okay? One of our worst units got marginally better. Oh my gosh, they did a redesign of the mothership. I don't know about this. What do we think, guys? Cost reduced drastically. Supply cost reduced drastically. Now it's only 6 supply. Okay. Build time reduced drastically. Speed slightly increased. Now it moves as fast as an observer. Woo! Lateral acceleration increased from 1.9 to 30? That's how fast the unit changes this directions while moving. Increasing this will make the mothership no longer lag behind other army units of similar... Wow! So it's not gonna, like, swing turn. Like, when you have the mothership moving in a direction and you tell it to turn around, it does this thing where it kind of, like, swings instead of, like, turning instantly. This is good. Cool. All right. Whatever, I guess. Whatever. Maybe we'll see more motherships. Health and shields reduced drastically. Man. Radius and model scale reduced by 20%. It's tiny. It's going to be so small. It's going to look so small. It's going to be like the size of a carrier. It no longer has energy. Okay. Okay. Now, you know what? This is nice, because you can't get EMP'd anymore. It won't lose all of its effectiveness by getting EMP'd. Recall now has a 110-second cooldown. I think that mirrors the cooldown of the Nexus recall. Okay. Recall radius reduced from 6.5 to 5. That's okay. That's okay, the reduction of the radius. 5 radius is still big enough to hit, like, 100 army supply. So, no big deal. Time Warp now has a 60-second cooldown. That one's pretty rough. A minute cooldown on Time Warp? And they're reducing the... They're nerfing the slow. And they're reducing the radius. Man, this is not great. This is not great. Why are they nerfing Time Warp? I think that Time Warp is probably, like, one of the weakest abilities in the game, so... I guess if we're going to see the mothership more, we might be able to see Time Warp more, and we might be able to gauge, like, an actual power level of the skill. Cast delay reduced. Oh, so it'll take effect faster. Okay, you know what? I'm going to reserve judgment on this change, because I have barely seen Time Warp used ever. Maybe just having Time Warp as an option now will make a difference. The Cloak Field is no longer a passive. Oh, that's a massive nerf. It is now an activated ability which lasts for 10 seconds with a 50... This is a massive nerf. Dude, whoa. The mothership was so bad already. Why are they nerfing it so hard? Man, what the heck? This is supposed to be a redesign, and they're just butchering it. I guess it's cheap. Cheap, quote-unquote. 250, 250. This is how much money you're saving on your upgrades. This is the exact amount of money that you're saving on your upgrades, right? They're scamming us. The Zerg Cabal is scamming us, guys. All right. You know what? Overall, if we see the mothership more often, I think I'll be happy. But this isn't making it better, you know? This isn't making the mothership better in any way, right? This is just making it easier to kill, essentially. It's gonna just die really fast. 500 HP. It's just gonna die real fast. I don't know. Prevent it from being hard countered by EMP. I guess that's the one thing. It's not hard countered by EMP anymore. But I mean, if they have 10 Vikings, they're gonna two-shot it. Like 2 volleys of Vikings is gonna one-shot. Is gonna two-shot your poor mothership. Well, we'll have to see what happens after like a month or two of playing on the beta, the balance test mod map, because they don't do PTRs anymore. I would say overall, like, I don't know what to think about this change. It's a big change. I'll have to play with the unit to have a better opinion about this one. Sentry Guardian Shield duration increased from 10 to 12. Okay. Allows Guardian Shield to be precast before engaging Terran armies involving ghosts, and it lasts longer into the fight. Well, I think this is pretty worthless, to be honest, because the Sentry is a low-range unit. It has 5 range, which means it stands in front of your Stalkers, stands in front of your Immortals, stands in front of your Colossus. It just stands in front of all your units that are supposed to be tanky. All your units that are supposed to benefit from Guardian Shield are the Zealot and the Adept. And those units are not very good in a maxed out army. So I think that this change is kind of... It lacks meaning. This change lacks meaning because your sentries are always like the first units to die in a fight with an enemy because they stand in front of all of your other ranged units. So I guess cool. Cool, I guess. Stasis Ward's sight range increased from 4 to 7. Used to be for more central map vision with Stargate, basically. I mean, that's stupid. This is a stupid change. Are they listing this as like a buff? Are they like, hey, we nerfed the Disruptor, but oh, we buffed the Sentry and the Oracle? This is stupid. These are stupid changes. The Immortal. Barrier will also now block the first instance of damage, which triggers the... Okay, this is nice. This is nice. This means that... So something that would happen before is a Widow Mine shot hits your Immortal, and it would explode and do all of its damage before the barrier pops up. So that the Immortal would lose all of its base shield, and it would take damage from a Widow Mine shot, and then the barrier would activate. Which made it really, really stupid, right? It made it really stupid. This will also make it so that the Immortal will tank the first shot of, like, a siege tank. Your Immortal's walking into the range of a siege tank. The siege tank will shoot. The barrier will go off. It will absorb the whole siege tank shot and still be there for the second siege tank shot, I believe. Lurkers as well. Cool. Disruptors. Disruptors versus Immortals as well. The barrier will trigger and block the majority of the damage of the Disruptor. Okay. Okay, this is a pretty big buff to the Immortal. Alright. And that's it? That's it? Damn, bro. That's it? Damn, bro. Wow. That's it? You get to save like 300 minerals and 300 gas on your upgrades over the course of a game where you get 50,000 resources. Your disruptor is nerfed. Your void ray gets a meaningless speed upgrade. Your tempest gets buffed marginally. Now you can micro the tempest instead of it being useless. Oh, the mothership is completely changing into a different unit, just like the Cyclone, so it's very hard to judge this change. I hope that this is meaningful and impactful. I hope that this makes the mothership more usable. It seems like it's turning into something that you might actually be able to replace more than once, right? You might be able to replace the mothership more than once. Worthless changes to the Sentry and the Oracle. Like, I can't say that the Sentry change is worthless. This will do what they said. You'll be able to pre-cast it, and it'll last into the fight. But this Oracle change is absolutely useless. And this Immortal change is a pretty big buff. So, you know, Terran changes, thumbs up. I like all the Terran changes. Maybe keep an eye on the Medevac one. Zerg changes. Damn, they're getting a lot of buffs. Damn, Zerg is getting a lot of buffs. I'm kind of surprised that Zerg is getting buffed a bunch. It's nothing, like, overtly crazy, but the Hydralisk one is a pretty huge buff. The Baneling nerf is really huge. This is super nice. Like, I can't count how many times 2 Banelings have walked into one of my mineral lines and annihilated 20 probes. So this is pretty sick. Like, I'm glad. I'm happy about this. And the health bonus from Centrifugal Hooks going away will make a big difference in being able to actually snipe Banelings with things like the Colossus and Storm. Colossus and Storm will kill Banelings significantly faster when they don't have that bonus HP from this. So, thumbs up for the Zerg changes. And, you know, I was really hoping for more for Protoss. I was really hoping for more from Protoss. So, I'm going to give the Protoss changes a thumbs down. The Immortal change, this is the only change I think is really good. The Immortal and the Tempest change, if they just took away every other change that they're making, I guess you nerf the Disruptor if you really feel like you need to. Balance team. But, like, if you just took away every one of these other changes and just did this buff to the Tempest and this buff to the Immortal, I think I'd be happier. I think I'd be happier with just those things. Even though it's like, oh, cool, I saved 300 minerals. This is meh. Guys, if you liked the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below the video. Appreciate you. I will be back. I stream every day on twitch.tv/Hupsaiya. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.